Okay, so as you can see, these are the blanks that came off the lathe. I use a parting tool, if you're familiar with wood turning, to skinny up that end. Um, and then I should have used a parting tool more here. This one's a little bit closer to what I want to be cutting off. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to clamp them into my Moxon vise here. And so I'm going to cut the ends off and then the other end off with my Japanese flush cut saw here. If you're wondering what a flush cut saw does that's different, it's the teeth have what's called a set. They're bent back and forth. And what that does is it allows the blade to travel down or travel through the wood without pinching the sides, gives a little bit of clearance. But with a flush cut saw, there's very little to no set. So the last thing you want is to scratch up your surface here as you cut off this part. And so I'm going to go fairly close. I'm going to try not to hit my edges here. And if there's any extra left, I just have a sharp chisel, and so I'll just trim off the extra as a final finishing cut before I do any installation of what's called a hanger bolt. That's the bolt that goes in here with wood threads on one end, and let me grab one. It's got machine threads on the other. I'll be using a drill, my trusty rigid drill over there, my drill bits. So this is it's a hanger bolt. These came from Home Depot. So you can see the heavy thread there. There's a point, and then there's a machine thread here, and that just allows the leg to screw into the bottom of the dresser. So anyways, that's kind of the long intro. I'll tighten things up from here. Okay, first things first, Japanese saw. Let's see here. It cuts on the pull, and it's very flexible, so you can actually kind of potato chip it a little bit to keep it from grabbing an edge by accident. All right, just like that. Going to come in with a chisel here. Oops. I'm trying to keep it relatively flat. So using the rest of the, I'm putting this flat edge flat here and trying to not do whatever's happening there. Flip it over. And they're nice and tight. Just a gentle pull cut. Come from the other side. Might put this on a belt sander. I have a new one I acquired. Otherwise, you can use take a block with a sander, or you can, easiest thing, it's not sandpaper. What you can do if you really need to get something flat, like the bottom of this, in case there's a little bit. So when I was cutting on the lathe, my tool might have gone like this instead of straight across, which is fine. You get some sandpaper, not this pad, but you run it flat. Here's actually a kind of a pad. So you put it on something flat and then just give it a sanding until that bubble's gone. So like I said, I have a machine that's going to do it for me. So I will just say that is a finished leg. And what's next is I'm going to drill a hole and work in one of those hanger bolts. Sometimes it helps to just put kind of a corner, I call it like almost like a tooth, just a little bit of the chisel. I've got a video coming out about this moccasin vise. I haven't put leather in it, and so that will keep it from slipping around so much. But that's it. That's real-time leg prep. On to the next. Okay, so what I have here, if I can figure out which way it goes, is a center finder. So if you need to find the middle, the center of a cylinder to, for instance, drill a hole, there's two sides. There's a narrower angle here and then a regular 90-degree angle. Just depends on how big a cylinder you're working with, I'm assuming. But the little one works fine for this. It's going to be the same. And so that's pretty much the center of that guy. And so what I'm going to do next is just try to eyeball it. And I'm just going to use a punch to mark the center. There we go, something like that. So now when I go with my drill bit, I've got a good starting point, and I know I'm going to end up in pretty much the center of that leg blank. So yeah, otherwise, if you've got brad point bits, you can just park the center of the drill bit there and then just start drilling. All right, hope that helps. Okay, so next step's going to be to drill a hole in here for this hanger bolt. So it's lag thread here, and it's machine thread here, which means this will go into a, it'll screw into a metal receiver. So on the dresser, I think there's some steel inserts that this will just twist into. But first I need to drill a hole that gives me room to get the shaft of the screw in there, but accounts for the threads. So if you're fussy, you can use a calipers. You can kind of just eyeball it too. I have the Rockler megabit set in brad point style, so there's tons of sizes, and then they have this really small point here that keeps the bit from, the term is walking. You don't want it to, once you start spinning, you don't want it kind of like spin away. With let me just grab a random one here. With a brad point, that point is going to go right where your mark is, and then it's not going to go away. It's going to just give you a little guide hole, the pin, until the blades come in here and start slicing.